Hello friends, welcome to Civil's Chashma. We were doing 2020 Anthropology Paper 1 analysis. Today we will discuss Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, which is part of linguistic anthropology. You can connect with us through these 5 means of communication, and we would love to hear from you how you feel about this video and other aspects. Coming to the demand of the question, to write any good answer, especially the 10 markers, you should try to cover as many dimensions as possible and each dimension should be written in very short crisp sentences. So any answer should contain definition, example, diagrams, and criticism and relevance adds to graded marks. Coming to the introduction part, so this Sapir-Whorf hypothesis is basically part of the American anthropological thought and linguistic anthropology. First of all, Franz Boas gave the concept of linguistic relativism. So you are aware of cultural relativism, and some of the British anthropologists with ethnocentrist thought, they thought that simple society as well as their language was inferior to the Western and European society as well as language. So to counter that idea, Franz Boas gave the concept of linguistic relativism. He said that each language is superior or each language is good in its own context, or when it's seen from the prism of that society. It best serves the needs of the society. Now after this, Edward Sapir in his article The Status of Linguistics as a Science, he gave the idea of basic idea of Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. To take it forward, Benjamin Lee Whorf, in his article Science and Linguistics, finally gave the concept of linguistic relativity or Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. So we can say that in the introduction we can say that this Sapir-Whorf hypothesis forms the part of development of linguistic anthropology. So it's a part of development process of linguistic anthropology. So what is the hypothesis then? Whorf studied Hopi Indians. He found that their language did not have the concept of time, or actually they did not talk about time in terms of past, present and future tense as Europeans did. So he said that language shapes humans' thought process, experience, worldview and therefore social reality, and thus different languages means different thought process. So this you can represent it in form of diagram that language affects or influences thought process and worldview. In the picture on the left side we have Edward Sapir, while on the right we have Benjamin Lee Whorf. So this concept of linguistic relativity basically says that language actually influences the humans very deeply. Now in the criticism, this idea was criticized on several grounds. The first one was it excessively relied on single factor. The other factors could be environment, geography, etc. So if environment affects, then it is called environmental determinism. If geography, then geographical determinism. To support this, anthropologist Igor Krupnik in his book Siku, Knowing Our Eyes, actually said that Inuits who inhabited subarctic region have more than 100 words for sea ice. And second criticism was by evolutionists. They said that humans have psychic unity of mankind, but different languages would mean different psyche of speakers. So it basically countered the idea of psychic unity. And the third criticism was, if language is a biological phenomena, then it should be same for all humans. So because the development of language was connected with the expansion of brain size, development of Wernicke and Broca area, and then lowering of the position of larynx or voice box inside human's neck when compared with the primates or chimpanzees position of voice box or larynx. So they said that if language is a social phenomena, it should be same for all humans. Then the fourth criticism was, presence of no word in a language does not mean that no notion of or no notion exists about that idea. For example, Alexander Suras, in his study on Kanoshi tribe, said that they did not have concept of color. However, they describe color in terms of ripeness of fruit. So this way it was countered, and finally several anthropologists said that Sapir-Whorf hypothesis was nothing but speculation. So this was the highest level of criticism that could have been leveled. After this, summarizing the criticism, over reliance on single factor and against psychic, it was against psychic unity of mankind. Then if language is a biological phenomena, then it should be same for all humans. Then presence of no word in a language doesn't mean no notion of that concept or idea exists, and it was speculative in nature. After this, we should write the relevance. So relevance of Sapir-Whorf hypothesis is in several fields. For example, first is in the kinship terminology study. L.H. Morgan extensively used linguistics in classificatory kin terminology and descriptive kin terminology studies. Then it also finds relevance in social inequality studies. For example, how language differs with age, gender and class, as well as how these languages can contain words which can be discriminative or differentiating against based on age, gender or class. Then we have structural functionalists said that this actually helps in maintaining social order, or language helps in maintaining social order and social control. And for example, we take a hypothetical example that if there is no word for murder in a language, then no killings would occur. So it's actually a utopian idea. And then we have this hypothesis can also be used in saving endangered languages, because then it gives priority to the languages which are disappearing. Finally, in conclusion, we can say that Nietzsche famously said that language is a prison. According to him, language predisposes the speakers to experience the world in a particular way. So this is basically in support of Sapir-Whorf hypothesis or linguistic determinism, then or linguistic relativity, which is a milder form of linguistic determinism. Then we have to balance this with the holistic idea of that current most anthropologists believe that language is a biosocial phenomena playing its role in conjunction with several other factors. Then linguistic anthropology currently is a leading area of research in anthropology, and it is helping in solving better handling of identity crisis, linguistic chauvinism, and associated issues of regionalism and national integration. Then you can make this diagram of biosocial or biocultural loop in which language influences thought process and worldview, which in turn also influences language. This is a cyclical process or a feedback loop or biocultural loop, you can say. And then you can finally this I presented a summary in which important ideas or concepts are mentioned at one place. So Edward Sapir, Benjamin Whorf's articles named Science and Linguistics is there. Then Whorf studied Hopi Indians. Then you can make this diagram of linguistic relativity, and then in conclusion you can make this diagram of biosocial or biocultural loop. So here I would like to say that you might not be able to reproduce the whole answer because it's in quite detail. However, you can use various ideas of this in linguistic anthropology questions also. And I would also like to add another interesting idea that you should know the sequence of anthropologists. For example, British anthropologist E.B. Tylor first showed some interest in linguistic studies. Then we have L.H. Morgan, who did the kinship classificatory studies, classification studies or terminology studies. Then we have Franz Boas, who countered the ethnocentrists via concept of linguistic relativism. Then came Edward Sapir and Whorf and their Sapir-Whorf hypothesis or linguistic relativity. And finally, these all ideas were consolidated by Dell Hymes in what is called linguistic anthropology. So this is the whole chronology. After this, you can make these diagrams and you can conclude in a better way. Finally, Please do subscribe to our channel if you like the video, or and for latest initiatives and batches, you can stay connected with us through our website and Telegram channel. Thank you so much.